Welcome to Odds.com's NCAA basketball coverage for Saturday, March 6th. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We have our NCAA basketball expert, Maxwell Smart, in the house, ready to attack. We've conference tournaments starting. The excitement is building. Max, how are you doing on this Friday evening?
Jim, I am very excited. I'm happy. And I'm wealthier than I was this morning. It's been a grind. I've been grinding since the crack of dawn. Games started at 11. Games aren't going to end till 1:30. I got Pacific and Santa Clara on right now. I'm focused on the show. I'm focused on the games. And even more so, Jim, I'm focused on making those shekels and taking them from your bookie, serving them my favorite soup, cold cock soup, brother.
I shouldn't say to that. I should dry heave to the cold cock soup. But I'm happy that you're feeding bookies cock soup. Crack of dawn makes me think of Break of Dawn from De La Soul. A nice vibe in here, Max. I'm glad that you had a big day. I had a winning day, which is something that I needed very much. And I'm very excited to see you attack this Saturday, March 6th card. You have some very high-profile games mixed with conference tournament games. You have a very nice mix. You're coming off a 4-win, 5-loss day, down 1.50 units. You are sitting 231 wins, 190 losses, plus 23.61 units, hitting at a 54.9% win rate. Your ROI is 5.61%. Your average line is minus 109. You've had a great year, and we want more glory. Are you ready to attack this card?
Jim, I am absolutely ready to attack this card, and I'm going to, whether you like it or not.
Oh, I like it. I fucking like it. Let's get to work. We start at 12 p.m. Eastern. We have afternoon action. Those of you on the West Coast, don't drink too much tonight. Be up and at 'em at 9 a.m. for these games. We start with number 11 ranked Florida State Seminoles, 15-4, 11-3 in the ACC at Notre Dame, fighting Irish 9-14, 6-11 in ACC. Purcell Pavilion in South Bend, Indiana. Florida State opening up at -7. That's moved to 6.5 at most books. There's still some 7s being hung. This total at 153 at one book has been dropped by a hook to 152.5. Florida State bounced back from their ugly 78-70 loss to North Carolina, their horrific second-half breakdown, by beating up on Boston College at home on senior night, 93-64. Senior guard MJ Walker scored 18 points. He hit 6 threes. He's complaining about being injured and hurting and was possibly not going to play, and then woke up in the morning and gutted his way through that. I don't want to call bullshit, but a lot of woe is me kind of, I don't know. He's averaging 13.1 points, hitting 47% from 3. Raekwon Gray, 16 points, 11th straight double-double. 15 Seminoles played, 14 scored. They are one victory away from winning the ACC regular season title for the second straight year. They shot 35-63, 55.6% from the floor, 48.1% from 3. They score 79.9 points per game. They allow just 69.4. They're a big, tough basketball team. They hit 47.5% from the field, 39.3% from 3, and 73.6% from the line. Notre Dame lost 4 straight. After losing at undermanned Boston College as 7-point favorites, they lost 80-69 at home to NC State as 3.5-point favorites on Wednesday night. They shot just 37.5% from the field in the loss. Leading scorer Prentice Hubb scored 14. He's averaging 14.3 on the season. Trey Wirtz added 12. Jawan Durham added 10. They are playing ugly basketball. They hit 46.5% from the field, 36.9% from 3, 76.4% from the foul line, and those numbers are dropping. They are not playing with a lot of heart out there. Max, your opening game, Florida State, Notre Dame, ACC action. Take it away.
Yeah, when you talk about Florida State versus Notre Dame, Jim, the first thing that comes to mind is old man Leonard Hamilton. Guy doesn't look a day over freaking 45, yet he's in his 60s. Just got a 5-year extension, and he's taking his old man piss students versus the dirty priests of Notre Dame. So hopefully these dirty priests of Notre Dame know their goddamn role, because This is a Florida State team that's got to get road hungry, and they got to get road hungry in a hurry. If they're going to be able to get through this ACC tournament, get that ACC crown, and get to the tournament as maybe a 3 seed or even a 2 seed, that means that they're going to have to get over some of these road issues against some of the more difficult offensive-minded teams in the ACC. Listen, this is a first half very dominant team. We cashed with them last week before they blew it up against North Carolina, and that's the way I'm looking to go with Florida State again this week. I'm looking to hit them first half. I'm looking to get them on a number that's under 4.5 points. And with Florida State, listen, it's hard to ignore that they've had second half issues, but if they can win this game, they're going to win this game with stymie field goal defense. They're going to be able to exploit the 3-point defense or lack thereof by Notre Dame, aka the Dirty Priests. And Scotty Barnes is going to have multiple opportunities to go coast to coast and take it to the rim. I think that this is a Florida State team that has to get down and physical, throw the ball down in the low post, use that size advantage that you have against most front courts in Division I basketball, and convert at the free throw line. This is a team that has to limit the opportunities on the offensive glass for Notre Dame. They're a team with limited depth, so all those over-the-back fouls will play into it. I think that if Florida State can take the ball away from a good ball security backcourt, then they're going to be able to rock and roll. I've seen Notre Dame do a very good job of scoring from all 3 levels, not turning the ball over on offense, but then on the other end, they're the type of team that you can freaking help defend and swat a couple shots. Your pass deflections are definitely going to be up against a Notre Dame team that has so much passing. But in the end, I think that Florida State's going to have the most value, whether it comes to full game or first half. In the first half, that's the way that we're going to go. And I'm also going to take the over in this game. I know it's a 150 number. I know that the offense has been slowing down. I just lined this game at 156.5, and it's just too much value to pass up. I know that some of these 150s have been poor, like Monmouth, but I'm going with the number. The number says Florida State first half and Florida State full game over. So, Jim, that's what we're going with.
153 is abound. We just found our first 152.5. It's at BetMGM. See if there's anything else that can help us. 152.5 also at Circa. Okay. So we opened up with 3 153s. Finished it with 2 152.5s. So we have a first half -4 is the max that Max will go with. We'll have to line shop in manana. But right now, we are going to add the here we go. We're going to add over 152.5 at -110 available at Circa. And we are on the board. We open with a very high-profile ACC matchup, and we follow up with a high-profile Big East matchup. 12 p.m. Eastern, Georgetown Hoyas, 9-11, 7-8 in the Big East. At Max's UConn Huskies, 13-6, 10-6 in the Big East. We're at Gampel Pavilion in Storrs, Connecticut. Connecticut opening up as 9.5-point favorites. We do see a 10 now on the board. This total at 137. We've seen no movement there. Georgetown's won 2 straight and 4 or 5. They're playing good ball. Their lone loss their lone loss over their last 5 games came at home versus these very same UConn Huskies. 70-57 in a game where Max implored us to bet UConn. In that loss, the Huskies beat them badly on the boards, 46-30. They're coming off a 72-66 win at home over Xavier on Tuesday night as 3-point dogs. Jamarco Pickett had 18.7 boards. He's averaging 12.9 and 8 boards a game. Senior Chudier Bile, 16 points, 11 boards. He's averaging 10.2 and 5.2 boards. And leading scorer, Brampton, Ontario's own senior Javon Blair, went for 14 points. He's averaging 15.6 points, 4 boards, 4.2 assists. These Hoyas can be very sloppy with the ball. They turn the ball over 16 times a game. They're 0-6 when scoring fewer than 67 points. If you know UConn, you know it's they're very capable of holding this Georgetown team under that 67. Georgetown scores 71.2 points per game. They hit 42.3% from the field, 36.3% from three, and 75.2% from the line. UConn has won 3 straight, all by double digits. They've won 5 of their last 6. They're coming off a 69-58 win at Seton Hall on Wednesday. Isaiah Whaley, 17 points, 10 boards. Adama Sanogo, 16 points, 9 boards. Leading scorer James Bouknight went for 16 and 6. He's averaging 20.1 on the season. The Huskies ranked first in the conference in offensive rebound percentage at 36.8. They grabbed 13.1 offensive boards a game. This team is rolling. Dan Hurley was given a 2-year extension this evening. They score 70.9 points per game, allowed just 64.3 points. They hit 43.6 from the field, 33.8 from three, 72.3 from the line, but it's not their shooting that has led them to earning a berth in the tourney. It's all the intangibles that they bring to the table. Max, Georgetown Hoyas, UConn Huskies, take it away.
Jim, I think you already know. UConn, baby, UConn. It's all UConn, Jim. You know what? Normally, I don't really get too excited about a player getting injured, but Colin Gillespie getting injured at this time of year really does help UConn's bottom line, because with him in the lineup, it makes it that much more difficult for them to dethrone them of this Big East tournament. And I think that when it comes down to it, this UConn team has a goal. They have a mission. They are focused on the task at hand, one game at a time, one opponent at a time. Respect everybody. Play your hardest. Bring your best for 40 minutes. And RJ Cole, that's on you, bro. You're doing it. You're killing it. You're bringing the offense. You're getting vocal. You're owning that offense. And it just makes it so much easier for everybody else to get going. I think that with this UConn team, we have to note that normally UConn's hitting some threes. And in that game against Georgetown, where they beat them by 13, they went 2 for 11 from 3-point range. But what really helped them was dominating the glass. They dominated on the offensive glass. They had like 14 offensive rebounds. They were plus 14 on the defensive glass. They just did a fantastic job of limiting something that is usually a major strength for Georgetown. And that's going to have to repeat itself this time around. When you look at this UConn team, they're very good at guarding you closely on the 3-point line without fouling. And if they're able to do that against the likes of Donald Carey and Javon Blair and Dante Harris, yeah, we're going to see a similar type result. I think that the one danger with Georgetown is Georgetown's a very good starting team, very good first half team. And at a number where the spread is 10, if I see a 6 or 6.5, I'm going to have to take Georgetown the first half. I think that UConn is a better second half adjustment team. I think that the coaching quality from Patrick Ewing to Coach Hurley is exponential. And I do think that's where the difference is going to be. This is a UConn team that is deep. They can play multiple different lineups against you. They can play small. They can play big. They can play where they just clear it out and clear it for either Tyrese or James to go to the rim or pull up for an inside the arc Jimmy. I just think that this UConn team is playing at their best. This is the kind of feeling that I had when they joined the American and they ended up winning the national championship. Okay, I know I'm a UConn fan, but this is what this program has been able to do. So I'm not saying it's out of the sphere, but probably not going to happen. When I look at this UConn matchup, Jim, I think that 3-point defense is going to be paramount. With Georgetown's 3-point shooting, they're hitting 8 or more a game. They're shooting at a high percentage, and they're being efficient on a possession-by-possession basis. I think that with UConn possibly have figured out their free throw shooting issue, I hope that doesn't come to play. But if they can win with defense, they can take the ball away from Georgetown, and they can condense their defense when Wahab gets the ball on the low block or in the paint area. I don't see what really is going to change. I think that UConn is the spot for me full game. You're going to lock me in. And if we see a 6.5 or higher, we're taking Georgetown first half as an official show pick as well.
Very, very interesting breakdown. By the way, at Bet365 right now, UConn 80-1 to win the national championship. Possible first half on Georgetown, but we have books that have moved this to 10.5. FanDuel still at 9.5, as is Bet365, but BetMGM's moved it to 10.5. Circa's moved it to 10. Minus 9.5 at minus 110 available at FanDuel. Max, just from my own personal gambling, what do you think of this total that hasn't moved at 137?
I think that with a UConn dominated game, you definitely think that it's going to be more defensive, but just the fact that Georgetown can lure UConn into a 3-point shooting game, especially if they're hitting early, makes it a complete stay away. At the time of day, though, Jim, the only way that I would degen bet this total would be taking a first half under.
Interesting breakdown. There you have it. We've opened up with two very high profile games. We close up shop with another high profile game in Duke, North Carolina. Now we move into conference tourney time, but Max has opened up his card with Florida State over 152.5. He's interested in Florida State first half. He's also on UConn Huskies minus 9.5 and may take Georgetown first half, depending on how high that first half line goes towards the Huskies. We move over to the Northeast Conference Tournament semifinal. This is at 12 p.m. Eastern. Sacred Heart Pioneers 9-8, 9-7 in the NEC at Bryant Bulldogs 14-5, 10-4 in the NEC. We're at Chace Athletic Center in Smithfield, Rhode Island. Sacred Heart opening up as 8.5-point dogs. That's moved to 9 at a couple books. We have this total opening up at 153.5. It's creeping upwards, 154.5. Sacred Heart closed out the season splitting 2 games with Fairleigh Dickinson. They closed the season winning 3 of 5. They're led in scoring by sophomore Tyler Thomas, who averages 19.4 points, 5.2 boards. The only other Pioneer averaging double digits is junior Aaron Clark, who averages 13.6 points. Both Pioneer stars struggle from the perimeter. As a team, they hit just 32.7% from 3. Where would they be without freshman Mike Sixsmith, who hits 54.4% from 3 and is their third highest scorer with 8.1 points per game? Sacred Heart scores 71.2 points per game, hit just 41.6% from the field. Bryant comes in as winners of 4 straight. They're coming off sweeping 2 home games on back-to-back nights at home over LIU Brooklyn. They shoot the ball very well, but are coming off a rare tough night with their shot in a 63-60 win over LIU on Friday. They hit just 33% from the field, 29.2% from 3. They have 5 players who scored double digits and have played every game for them, which is a rarity in this COVID season. They're led by Peter Kiss, who averages 17 points, 6.1 boards, hits 44.4% from 3. They score 84.6 points per game, hit 46.5% from the field, 38.7% from 3, and 75.2% from the line. Max, NEC semifinal, Northeast Conference Tournament. Take it away.
Jim, what I love about this conference and about the teams that we're going to talk about from this conference is that they're easily accessible. They play a very exciting style of basketball, and you're never going to fall asleep like you would when you're watching the Masters or when you're watching, Jim, I hope you're not offended when I say this, Major League Baseball. But this Bryant game is going to be what I call a shell shock performance towards Sacred Heart. When you look at Sacred Heart, Jim, while the numbers and the percentages don't look good, it's the time and the timely fashion of the scoring outbursts that you get from Sacred Heart that you have to be worried about. You cannot take this team lightly. You have to be aggressive early and go after them and try and kill them down early. That's just my thing with them. I think that when you give Sacred Heart the confidence that they can play with you, that's when they get some hot shooting and they can take you and get a lead on you. I've watched enough of the Sacred Heart team to know that guys like Nick Gillette and then Matis Spokas, these are guys that are capable scorers. These are grimy type guys that are going to be able to do the intangible things and get you offensive rebounds, get you a steal or two, help defend that leads to a missed shot multiple times in a half. It's the stuff that you don't see that these guys do. They are very young, so I do worry about them playing a high tempo team like this Bryant group, because what Bryant has done well is get out to leads early. While they haven't done a fantastic job of maintaining them based on their ATS record and some of the spreads they haven't covered, this is still a team that I feel confident at this number. I look at Bryant and I'm like, well, as great as they are on offense, this is still a team that's very capable on defense. They can switch up looks on you. They can press you. They can trap you. They can 1-3-1 you. They can zone you if they have to. And they've zoned a lot of teams. So if you're Sacred Heart, you need to get dribble penetration. You need to get to the rim. That's how you're going to open up lanes. You know that Tyler Thomas, he can go baseline from the left or the right, and he's a better wing three-point shooter than he is from the corner. I think that with Aaron Clark, that's the guy that you have to worry about getting into the middle of the paint area. And with Clark, listen, he's going to drop a bunch of different kinds of shots at you. And with his body and his strength and bulk, he's gonna draw fouls. So you have to be aware of that. And the best thing you can do is be ready to try and take a charge. So I think that with Bryant, they have all the personnel to nullify all these potential barriers to beating them by a margin. I think that with Bryant, they have to have good feet. They have to be quick moving, shifting to cut off these lane of drivers, and really forcing them out of dangerous shooting areas. And listen, if you can't stop the dribble drive, you're going to have to zone up on these guys. By the numbers, by the stats, Bryant has an advantage in every area. But I am questioning if this is too big of a number. I'm going to go with what my number says, because the last time I went against it was the Illinois-Michigan game, and I don't mean to rip a Band-Aid off an old wound, but I just did. I think that Bryant is going to lock down early. I think they're going to go hard on these guys. I think that Peter Kiss and Michael Green lead the way with their three-point shooting. And then my favorite Bryant Bulldog, Chris Childs, JUCO college transfer, he's going to light it up. I'm predicting 5 threes just for him alone tomorrow. This is a big game for them. They want this goddamn NEC tournament berth into the NCAAs, and Sacred Heart's in their way. They're coming to their kitchen. They're serving them cock soup, and they're eating all their food.
No one wants that. No one wants any of that, Max. By the way, this market is going down. Circa just popped an 8 on the board. So I can get you Bryant Bulldogs -8 and -110. I feel like situationally, from a team that's been so good shooting all year long, coming off a poor game, that I wouldn't be surprised if their shot is on point in this game. Do you have any interest, or at least this is, again, just a selfish question, for that team total over and for Bryant?
I think that the team total definitely is the way to look at it, because this definitely has the potential of being a one-sided scoring game. I will say this, though, while the numbers looked bad, I think that you had a really motivated LIU team that was trying to play for its season's life. So I don't think that you're going to get that same kind of intensity from Sacred Heart just because of how young they are at every spot aside from Tyler Thomas and Aaron Clark. But I do think that Bryant's defense definitely has the ability to show itself. So taking a team total is probably more advisable, in my opinion, than taking a total involving both teams.
Great breakdown, Max. Bryant Bulldogs -8 at -110, available at Circa Sports. We move on to the Patriot League, where our Maxwell Smart is the governor in charge of everything that happens in this league. Loyola Maryland Greyhounds, 4-10 in conference. They only played in conference this year. At Navy Midshipmen, 15-2, 12-1 in the Patriot League. We're at the Alumni Hall in Annapolis, Maryland. And it feels like deja vu, Max, watching these two teams play against each other. Loyola Maryland closed out their season losing a home and home to Navy on back-to-back nights, Saturday and Sunday. It was their third loss in 4 games. If there was ever a chance for Loyola to beat Navy, you had to think that this was it, with Navy's best player, Cam Davis, who averages 17.1 points per game in quarantine. Navy was also missing starter Richard Njoku to quarantine. As usual, in their 2-game series with Navy, they were led in scoring by 6'11" Spanish sophomore Santi Aldama, who combined for 48 points and 13 boards over the 2 games. He averages 21.4 points, 10.1 boards on the year. They only have one other player averaging double digits in Jalen Andrews, who averages 11 points a game. Loyola shoots terribly from the perimeter, 29.3% from 3, and from the foul line, just 61.3%. They're a poor shooting team. Now, let's go back to Navy with Cam Davis and Richard Njoku unavailable to play versus Loyola last weekend. It was second leading scorer John Carter Jr., who stepped up in a big way, averaging 11.3 points per game when he plays second fiddle to Davis. As the star of the show, he went off 26 in the first game, 16 in the second. In both games against Loyola, Navy led comfortably at the half, coasted home. Now, I don't know if Max has more information. All I could get was that Cam Davis and Richard Njoku are questionable due to their quarantine situation. Navy scores 71.7 points per game. It's their strong defense that fights most of the battles for them. They allow just 66.5 points per game. They hit 44.5% from the field, 32.3% from 3, and 71.6% from the stripe. And my fault for not starting with the odds for this spot. Navy 5.5-point favorites. This total at 134. We've seen no movement on either. Max, very, very interesting spot here. Patriot League tournament quarterfinal. Let's let the governor speak.
The Patriot League governor is very excited for the Patriot League tournament. It's a great tournament. It's going to be wonderful because we got a matchup with Navy. And Navy's been great to all of us. Navy's been great to us on the spread. Navy's been great to us on totals. And Navy's going to be a team that beats a team not only 3 times, but 4 times in a season. The most interesting thing about this series is that Loyola's been decent against any team not named Navy. Against Navy, they couldn't beat them on 2 separate occasions without Cam Davis and Njoku. That blows my mind as the Patriot League governor. I think that Navy has a formula for beating Loyola. I watch all 3 games. You win with stout 3-point defense. You win at the free throw line because, let's be frank, Loyola Maryland sucks. Santi Aldama, he's going to miss a couple free throws. Golden DK, same thing with him. Probably the one guy you don't want to get up there is Cam Spencer, and he's getting healthier and more acclimated to the lineup. Navy's won the turnover battle, and Navy's been able to take away the ball from ball handlers and post players. I think that it's very important for Navy to be able to replicate this. They have to work the front court, get some fouls on these guys because that's where their biggest advantage is. But at the end of the day, this is still a Loyola Maryland team that does not do a very good job of shooting the basketball at all 3 levels, something that Navy can do. Navy can bring out freaking a whole bunch of different guys. You've seen guys step up and be able to sustain their performances, and I'm definitely pointing out Daniel Deaver. I'm definitely pointing out Patrick Dorsey and Luke Lawrence, Sean Yoder. All these guys have played very well without freaking Njoku and Cam Davis in there. I think that the most important player obviously is John Carter, Jim, and we're not talking about the Terminator. We're talking about freaking Navy midshipman, freaking lifesaver. He's a guy that can work off screens, get to the rim, and that will open up some 3-point shooting. While this team isn't a prolific 3-point shooting team, they are respectable, and that's something that Loyola Maryland isn't. They have not been able to find their 3-point shot. They have missed a ton of free throws. If they don't shoot 60% or more from the free throw line, I would be surprised. because this is just a team that has a major problem there. And because I'm bashing them, they probably figure it out tomorrow. But with Navy, Jim, I'm going to take them again full game, and I'm going to take the under full game again. I don't see why I'm going to change that. Navy's been very dominant in first halves over the last 5 games, and they've been able to sustain those leads, including 2 games against frickin' Loyola. They've been doing a much better job of converting their easy shots, their layups, and their offensive rebounds. And when they're converting their opportunities at the free throw line, that's when you know Navy's locked in. I think that they're going to have to win the turnover battle. They've been fantastic in this early time slot. And frankly, anything under 7 is always going to be a play on Navy, especially with this team this year. So I think that as long as they're able to freaking double team the big men down low, have good interior passing to get those easier looks at the freaking rim, and they can freaking work and score off screens, I think that Navy's going to just keep on doing what they've been doing and cashing for us. So Navy full game and the full game under, please.
There's 1.5 available at Circa Sports, so I've locked you up with that. We also have Circa moving to 134, so there's 2 135s available at FanDuel and BetMGM. FanDuel has that 134.5. Sorry, I hope I said that 134.5 available at -116. But thankfully, BetMGM was it BetMGM? No, I think it might be Fox Bet. Sorry, let me just. Thankfully, Fox Bet has that 134.5 available at -110. So let's lock you up with that right now. Under 134.5 at -110 available at Fox Bet. So we have Max on the Navy midshipman -5, -110, and the under 134 at -110 in the Patriot League tournament quarterfinal. The governor has spoken. We move on back to the Northeast Conference tournament. This is at 2 p.m. Eastern. The semifinal, Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers, 10-10, 9-7 in conference at Wagner Seahawks, 13-6, 13-5 in the NEC. And we go back to Wagner's home court at Spiro Sports Center in Staten Island, NYC. Wagner is sitting there as, find this here. I don't have a line for Wagner here. No line for Wagner. Let's see if FanDuel can help us. Okay, we have Wagner at -2.5 at -110 at FanDuel with a total of 122.5. And 123 is the total at Circa. So that's what we will be doing with. I will keep looking at the other books to see if we get something better. But that's what we have here on the board. I did find the Wagner game. This total has gone up. Some of these lines don't make any sense. They're saying that Bet365 has already come out with a line, and they haven't. So let's just stick with that. We have Wagner as 2.5-point favorites, and this total at 122, 122.5, or 123, depending on where you shop. Mount St. Mary's closed the season on a high note by defeating Fairleigh Dickinson and St. Francis, Pennsylvania, on the road. They had a tough time scoring this season, and that difficulty was exacerbated by the midseason loss of leading scorer Jalen Gibbs. They averaged 63.2 points per game. Their defense was strong throughout, allowing just 62.2 points per game. Damian Chong-Kui stepped up in a big way down the stretch. The diminutive point guard finished the season averaging 14.9 points, 4.1 boards, and 5.6 assists, a stat sheet filler. But they shoot poorly. They hit 42.5% from the field, 34.2% from three, and 67.2% from the foul line. Wagner closed out the season in very impressive fashion, winning 12 of 13. Max had us on Wagner often down the stretch, and we hit overs with them. They bounced back from a late season surprise loss at Central Connecticut by beating Merrimack at home in back-to-back games on Tuesday and Wednesday. As usual, it was their strong guard tandem of Elijah Ford and Alex Morales leading the way. Ford averages 17.8 points. Morales averages 17.1. They each average 7.4 boards. but it's Morales who's the point guard and primary ball controller, averages 4.3 assists. They score 71.8 points per game. They hit 44.7% from the field, 31.6 from three, 72.3% from the foul line. Who makes it into the NEC tournament final? Mount St. Mary's versus Wagner. Take it away, Max.
Jim, let me tell you something. We like Wagner. We like Staten Island. And we're going with Wagner again because you know what? When I watch both these teams play and I look at my numbers, there's two things that they have in common. One is that they like Wagner. My numbers like Wagner. My eye and my brain likes Wagner. How do you not like Wagner? When you have super stud freshmen that like Elijah Allen and Delani Hunt, both can give you different things. Elijah Allen's going to be your 3-point deadly shooter. Delani Hunt's your next star in the making. Obviously, with him and Alex Morales both coming off bad shooting games, you do expect a little better of an outing this time around. But you still got a ton of depth and a lot of ability with guys like Jameer Fletcher, Will Martinez, and of course Elijah Ford. I think that against this Mount St. Mary team, they have to definitely do a better job this time around of limiting some of Damian Chonqui's 3-point shot attempts when he's handling the ball in the half court, not to let him just bleed the clock and go side to side, force him to do something. And the more you can get the basketball out of his hands, I think that's going to work out better for Wagner. Wagner definitely has the offensive advantage in most usable stats and metrics. And I think that with them being able to convert at the free throw line and not being reliant on the 3-point shot really helps them be a lot more successful. They need to get to the paint and they need to do it often. This is a team that definitely does a very good job of converting their free throws. And I think that they have to start early. They got to take it to the mound early and put this game out of reach by halftime. Sort of the same way that Santa Clara has been putting it to Pacific, those sons of bitches. But this is a Wagner team, Jim, that's a good wire-to-wire team. We've been able to put our faith in them and our money down on them, and they have rewarded us. So we're going to go one more time. They're on their home floor. They've beaten this Mount team. Obviously, if Jalen Gibbs was in the lineup for the Mount, I look at it a little differently. They don't have Dakota LaFrue. They do have Deshaun Thomas's back. So at 6'4", he can give you some of those missing elements. But at the end of the day, this is just a talented Wagner team that plays within itself. They can outshoot you, but the question will be, can they stop you enough times? The 3-point defense for Damian's going to be important, and they got to just compete to limit offensive rebounds with freaking Jefferson and Opoku. They're very good rebounding team. They're able to give you a lot of production down low if you are vulnerable there. But I think Wagner's going to bring the defense in the half court. They're going to pressure point guards. They're going to get some takeaways. It's going to lead to some transition buckets. And at the end of the day, this is going to be a Wagner win and a Wagner cover. And we're going to be able to celebrate them, possibly having to go up against maybe Bryant.
It would be a nice matchup, Bryant Wagner in the NEC final. Wagner Seahawks -2.5 at -110. Tell me, Max, are you surprised that the line is this short? What is the market seeing about Mount St. Mary's that I'm not quite seeing?
Yeah, I think that with Mount St. Mary, they're a good defensive team. They're a good team that can really take you out of your rhythm. And in a one-game single elimination format, that's something that can really play into your hand. And also having a game-breaking point guard that can carry you, I can understand it. I just know that there's just fundamental matchup flaws that Mount St. Mary has against this particular opponent. And while I do think that the game is low scoring and doesn't get over 123, I definitely think that Wagner could score 55 and win this game by 5 points or more.
Interesting. And so in a one-game matchup, you would take Damian Chonqui over Alex Morales?
No, because Alex Morales isn't going to be guarding Damian Chonqui. That would probably fall on Delani Hunt.
Okay, we move on. Wagner Seahawks -2.5 and -110 available at FanDuel in the Northeast Conference Tournament. And we go back to the Patriot League governor. We've heard him speak on Navy. Now we move to the quarterfinal between the American Eagles, 4-5. That's it, 9 games in their season. At Army Black Knights, 11-8, 7-7 in the Patriot. We head to West Point, New York, for a little Army basketball. Army opening up a 3.5-point favorites. That hasn't moved. This total, though, can be purchased between 132.5 and 133.5. Americans snapped a 3-game losing streak by sweeping a home from Bucknell on Saturday and Sunday. They were again led by leading scorer Jameer Harris, who averages 20.8 points, 3.6 assists, and hits 45% from three. The Eagles are strong from the perimeter. Their top 3 scorers, Jameer Harris, Stacey Beckton Jr., and Johnny O'Neal, all hit 40+% from three. They score 69.4 points per game. They hit 44.2% from the field, 37.3% from three, and 71.4% from the foul line. Army closed out their regular season with a 57-55 victory at home over Boston University on Sunday. Sorry, that is my 1-month-old son losing his shit over there, looking for titty. He's looking for titty. I'm going to stay focused here. Army closed out their regular season with a 57-55 victory at home over Boston University on Sunday. They had lost to Boston University the day earlier, 75-63, and had lost 4 of 5. So it was a big win for Army to close out their regular season. They have 3 players averaging double digits in Lonnie Grayson at 13.4, Josh Caldwell at 11.9, and Alex King at 11.7. They score 71.5 points per game, hit 45.3% from the field, 33.6% from three, and an ugly 62.1% from the foul line. We're the Patriot League Tournament quarterfinal. Let's hear what the governor has to say. Take it away.
Yeah, well, Jim, the governor says that this is an American team that, while they're not playing Navy, they're not that bad of a team. You know, they're 0-4 versus Navy this year. And I think that when you look at this group, you're going to have to get some three-point shooting. And I think that you got a couple really good candidates, whether it be Jameer Harris, whether it be freshman 6'9" Johnny O'Neal, who can stroke it from either side and with very little room. And I just think that when you look at American, they're a very good first 20-minute team. They've done a good job in first halves, and they've blown a bunch of leads in the second half. Maybe they can get over that, but Army, on the other hand, they're a team that is very good in second halves. They sometimes leave a lot to desire. I can relate to that. But when it comes down to it, I do think that they are able to make the better halftime adjustments. I do think that there is obviously a case to be made in regards to Army's inconsistency at the free throw line and their ability to screw themselves by leaving points at the free throw line. Hopefully that's not going to be the case today. I think that this is an Army team that is understanding the stakes, understands that they should be able to beat this opponent. And I think that they're going to be able to. I think that they're going to be able to convert some drives. I think that they're going to be able to play multiple different tempos. And I think they're going to be able to extend some of their possessions with some timely offensive rebounding and takeaways. I think that when you look at American, this is a team obviously that's better starts than finishes and a lot of late league cough-ups. And you got to keep American off the free throw line. Their 3-point defense is definitely stout, and they're a very good 3-point shooting team, so you have to be aware of that also. And they can beat you and score at all 3 levels, something that obviously Army has shown, I guess, just a ability to screw it up. So I think that with American in this game, I'm going to have to look to attack them in first half. And I think that there's definitely a good case for them coming out with the lead. They hit their free throws. They have 2 guys that can take you off the dribble. And they got a 6'9" guy that it's hard to match up with and stop him from hitting a 3. Where's Army's defense most susceptible to getting scored upon? On the 3-point line. I think that this is a spot where I have to look at the over. I have to look at Army full game, and I have to look at American first half. It's one of those dreaded triple up spots, but it's Saturday. It's volatile Saturday. The Patriot League governor only gets a couple more games in the Patriot League, and that's what I'm doing. So let's triple up and hope that I don't eat cock soup.
Wild plan here. American Eagles first half we will shop for in the morning. Army Black Knights has moved to 3.5 at a bunch of books here. There's a 3.5 at plus 100, but Circa is hanging a -3 at minus 110. They're the lone book of the legal sports books that are hanging the 3. Now let's go to overs very quickly here and see what we can get for you, Max. Circa for an over is offering 132.5. BetMGM doesn't have it up. Fox Bet is also 132.5, and FanDuel is at 133. So we will take the 132.5 at Circa. So an over 132.5.
Yeah, that works for me.
Minus 110 at Circa. The governor has spoken. Only a few more opportunities to hear from the governor, as it's going to be semifinal and final time very soon. We move on, and that concludes our conference action. We move over to Big Sky Country. They are closing out their regular season here over the next couple of days. We're at 3:05 p.m. Eastern. Southern Utah Thunderbirds, 18-3, 11-2 in conference at the Portland State Vikings, 9-11, 6-7 in conference. We're at the Viking Pavilion in Portland, Oregon. We have Southern Utah as 2.5-point favorites. This total sitting at between 145.5 to 146.5. You know, that surprises me that they would be such short favorites. Okay, let's break this down. Southern Utah won their 8th straight game here in Viking Pavilion Thursday night, 68-58. It was a much lower scoring game than what Thunderbird fans have become accustomed to. Southern Utah was just 5 of 24 from 3. It's impressive that this team can shoot so poorly from distance and still win by double digits. Third leading scorer, senior John Knight Jr., scored a career-high 26 points. He had 7 boards and 4 assists. He's averaging 13 points, 4.3 boards, 4.3 assists on the season. Leading scorer, Tavian Jones, who Max has talked about often on this show. He did his thing, 21 points. He's averaging 17.3 on the season. The Thunderbirds score 84.8 points per game, hit 47.4% from the field, 33.5% from 3, and 74% from the line. Portland had won 5 of 6 before running into the Southern Utah squad Thursday night at home. In that 68-58 loss, they shot poorly. 31.3% from the field, 28% from 3. It took them a few games to get over the loss of starting center senior Amari McCray in late January. They're led by senior guard James Scott, who averages 13.5 points per game. He went for 20 in game 1. The rest of the starters were awful. 7 of 27 for the field and just 18 points from the other 4 members of the starting lineup. Portland State scores 69.6 points per game. They hit just 40.3% from the field, 30.1% from 3, and 67.7% from the stripe. Southern Utah Thunderbirds at Portland State Vikings. Max, we're in the Big Sky. Take it away.
Yeah, listen, Jim, these guys obviously played the other night. Southern Utah went 5 for 24 from 3 and still was able to win the game by 10 points. So I'm definitely liking Southern Utah in this spot once again. I think that with John Knight, he probably isn't getting to the line 16 times, but this is a team that definitely finishes their drives, and I think will have similar success. I think that there's going to be a lot of one-and-dones on defense, and three-point defense will be key against Portland State and guys like James Scott and Elijah Harkless. I think that ball security and lots of offense off screens is something that Southern Utah does very well, and I think that they will continue to do well. If they're able to close out on jump shooters and have a good first half where I have them as having a 9-point advantage, I do think that Southern Utah will be able to go wire to wire. They do have to be aware of a second half comeback from Portland State, especially in the second game. But if Southern Utah can convert at the free throw line and utilize some more of their bench and depth with Madunvich and Moody, I do think that they're going to be able to figure it out. This is a group that is very good early, and I think that with them, it's definitely something that we have to look at the first half and we have to look at a full game with. So I'm going to take Southern Utah first half, and I'm going to take Southern Utah full game. I'm going to roll with the punches.
Why do you think this line would be just 2.5, Max?
I think that the odds makers are expecting a zigzag. There's been a ton of zigzag in the Big Sky. We just saw some zigzag with Eastern Washington today. I just think that it's a bad matchup for Portland State. This is a Southern Utah team. While they have rediscovered their three-point shot that they didn't have last year based on their personnel, I still think that their dribble drive, the size, and the ability for them to create and get second chance opportunities is just going to be too much for Portland State. Listen, I'm not doubting the quality that Portland State can produce on a game-to-game basis, but when they match up against this personnel and then based on my number, it just doesn't make sense to even look at Portland State as a side in this spot.
There's a -2 at -118 and then -2.5 to -110.
Yeah, I'll take the -110 line.
All right. Full game -2.5 at -110. Interesting. I've been looking back at your record, and it's been a lot of fun tracking you. But the games where I've been scared by the spread, by the number that's being put up by the market, that you've shown no fear, and you've explained why, because it's based on Ken Palm and not your evaluations, you've cashed at a very high percentage of them. Very, very often I've been like, oh, I should have done it. I don't know why I was scared by the market. Here we go. -2.5 and -110 available at Circa Sports. That's Big Sky action. Max is also interested in the first half. We'll see what that is in the morning. We get to the final game on Max's card, 6 p.m. Eastern, a monster game in the ACC. Duke Blue Devils, 11-10, 9-8 in conference. North Carolina Tar Heels, 15-9, 9-6 in the ACC. We're at Dean E. Smith Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We have Duke opening up as 3-point dogs. This total at 148. So at this point, we've seen no movement on either the side or the total. We're dealing with 3 and 148. Duke coming off back-to-back heartbreaking overtime losses at home to Louisville on Saturday and then at Georgia Tech on Tuesday. The momentum they created from Jalen Johnson fucking off has waned. Leading scorer Matthew Hurt was incredible against Louisville, going for 37 points before fouling out. Unfortunately, he fouled out again against Georgia Tech when he went for just 12 points. But the sophomore's having an excellent season, 18.9 points per game, 6.2 boards. DJ Stewart, the only other player averaging double digits at 12.9. Duke scores 76 points per game. They hit 46.9% from the field, 35.2% from three, and 69.3% from the stripe. North Carolina's lost 2 of 3, coming off losing 72-70 at Syracuse as 2.5-point favorites. The Tar Heels dominated the boards 53-33, but turned the ball over 20 times, shot poorly, hitting just 38.2% from the field and 20% from three. Leading scorer Armando Bacot was excellent against the Orange, 18 points, 15 boards, and 8 of those were on the offensive glass. The 6'10 sophomore averages 11.5 points, 7.7 boards. The Tar Heels score 74.2 points per game, but they turn the ball over too much at 15 times a game. They hit 43.8% from the field, 30.4% from three, and 66.4% from the stripe. Their perimeter shooting and foul shooting holds them back. Big game in the ACC. Duke, North Carolina. Max, take it away.
Jim, this is going to be a battle of the blue bloods. A battle of moonshine. All right? Who makes the better moonshine? Tar Heels or Blue Devils? I don't know. I don't think I can handle moonshine. I'm a bourbon and Coke guy. I like my stuff made in Kentucky, another blue blood state. But I'll tell you this, Jim, this is going to be a wild game. This is going to be probably the best game on the board tomorrow, entertainment-wise, live betting-wise, pregame betting-wise. And unfortunately, I gotta pick a goddamn side in it. Well, I'll tell you, with Duke, you know what? They have not fared well when it comes to their trips outside of Cameron Indoor. Listen, I don't know what Coach K is telling these guys. Maybe he's slipping them roofies. I don't know. Maybe they're playing half asleep. But I do think that this Duke team has been able to get off to good starts. That's going to be very necessary against North Carolina because what do we know about North Carolina? Well, we learned it last week. They could come back on you. And the numbers support it, you know. This is a North Carolina team that is putting up very high scoring outputs in second halves. Anywhere between 44 and 50 points. So that's something that Duke's definitely going to have to be aware of. The other thing going is that Duke does have some revenge, you know. When these guys played earlier, this was a 4-point loss. Duke was a 2.5-point favorite. So it does make sense to look at the dog in this spot. And I think that with Duke, they're definitely a team that I'm more interested in first halves. I think that the numbers definitely favor that. I think that with so much youth on this roster, it really is a hit or miss on who's going to give you that outlier performance on a game-to-game basis. But what is constant throughout this lineup, regardless of year and class, is that this is a team that shoots close to 50% from the field. They're getting, I guess, like a 0.04, 0.05 per possession. Their 3-point shooting is definitely a lot more respectable than North Carolina's. And the thing that they're able to do that North Carolina can take advantage of is just beat them on the glass. I think that while North Carolina definitely can beat you on the glass, can they turn those second chance opportunities into points? And that's where the difficulty's been. Their shooting from the 3-point line, aside from some shooting in the couple games by Kerwin Walton, has been pitiful. You would think that Caleb Love is adapting more and more every day. The ball distribution is good, but like you said, Jim, the turnovers are even worse over the last 5 games. I don't care how many times you take away the ball from a team. If your turnover freaking margin is in the minus, it's in the minus. I think that Duke is going to get off to a good start against North Carolina. I think that they're going to do a good job of holding on to the ball. I think that they're going to be able to mix up some of their own defenses on made buckets and pick up the full court, try and press and trap. And I think that they're going to give North Carolina a piece of something that they didn't see the first time out, at least for the first 20 minutes. At the end of the day, though, this is going to be a North Carolina win. This is a 9-1 North Carolina team at home. I'm tempted to take them on the money line, Jim, but I know that the juice is going to be crazy, and you'll probably roll your eyes and tell me not to do it. So I'm not. I'm going to do what I do on a lot of these games. I'm going to take Duke first half when we get a number in the morning, and I'm going to go back to North Carolina. Those second half numbers are too hard to ignore. And while Duke has been very good offensively in first halves, where they've been able to score anywhere from 39 to 43 points, that scoring has really dropped off in second halves. And the lack of free throws and trips to the free throw line has a direct impact on that. I think that this is a tale of two halves, a classic tale of two halves. And if you're not watching this game tomorrow, I don't know what you're doing, and you better not be watching golf.
No, I don't think. There's some UFC pre the big fights, but other than that, what could you be doing else than watching Duke, North Carolina? Max, moving on, North Carolina Tar Heels -3 and -110 at FanDuel. There are a few 3.5s on the board, but we found Max a 3 at -110. Max, that puts a bow on your card. You open up with huge marquee games and you close up shop with a big marquee game. Let's review your action. Let me know if I've got everything right. We start with the Florida State Seminoles. You want them first half in the morning, but you have moved on the over 152.5 at minus 110. Then you have interest in the Georgetown Hoyas first half, but you've moved on the UConn Huskies minus 9.5 at minus 110, available at FanDuel. You have moved on the Bryant Bulldogs minus 8, minus 110 at Circa. Then we have the Navy Midshipmen minus 5 and minus 110, and the under 134.5 at minus 110. Very quickly, Max, do you think there's a possibility that you're going to destroy the market in that game because Cam Davis and Richard Njoku could be in the lineup?
I think that the line's going to move towards Navy regardless. I think that it's going to be a very distinct group of people betting that number that's going to force it to move. I don't think that the average Joe is going to be betting on this game, especially with all the other games on at that particular time slot.
Then you have the Wagner Seahawks minus 2.5 at minus 110. And that is in Wu-Tang's home of Staten Island. In the Patriot League quarterfinal, you have Army Black Knights minus 3 at minus 110, the over 132.5 at minus 110, and you have interest in American first half. We'll decide on that in manana. We have Southern Utah first half, possibly, and full game minus 2.5 at minus 110 locked in. Then you have the North Carolina Tar Heels minus 3, minus 110, and you have interest in the Duke Blue Devils first half as a tale of two halves. Does that all sound right, Max?
Yes, sir. And it sounds goddamn exciting. Now, all we need are the winners because I'm on a 3-day losing streak and it's getting to me. I may have to talk close to the mic.
You should talk close to the mic. Now, Max, your losing streaks have been 4 and 5s, 6 and 7s. They haven't been 3 and 9s or 3 and 10. So your losing days have been minimal and haven't hurt you very badly because you've had an exceptional season. You're sitting 41 games over 500, 231 and 190, hitting at 54.9%, plus 23.61 units, ROI plus 5.61%, average line minus 109, and we're getting into March Madness, Maxwell Smart. Exciting time, and we're very thankful to roll with you. Thank you for sharing your hard work and insights with us. Do you have any last words for the great cappers supporting and watching the show?
Well, I'll say this, Jim. We do have very great cappers and a great audience that watch and support the show. I hope that you guys support the show some more. You could figure out various ways to do so, but one way that you should do is by supporting the Pacific Tigers right now. They're losing by 15. It's breaking my heart, and I'm on them in the second half minus 5. So pray for me to win my second half bet on Pacific. And Jim, it would be wrong of me to not end a video without passing out my public service announcement of the day. When you have a potato and you don't know what to do with it as far as cooking it, and you see a runner running outside, stick your head out the window and throw that potato at him. It'll make you feel better. It'll bring you good luck. It may even bring you a discounted, high-quality Lady of the Night. Who knows? Maybe you will.
I wish there was a jogger going past your window right now for you to fire a potato at them and cash the second half with Pacific. Hopefully that's happening. Max, thank you, my man. On behalf of Maxwell Smart and myself and joggers everywhere, thank you for watching us here on odds.com. Let's get paid in full. Let's have a giant Saturday. Let's